Tim McMahon, Brian Windhorst, Jeremy Lin. Brian, what do we call those boys in Charlotte?
Buzz City Killers. I can hear them coming.
You can hear them coming. The New York Knicks did not. Starting in the first quarter here, LaMelo Ball. This is what he does. Pulls up from deep.
By the little the wings out there in the logo.
That's what the Buzz City Killers do. LaMelo, once again, heat check. He's getting going early and often in this one. 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Zion James passes it to Knipple.
Good decision.
Yeah, he's got range.
Yeah, Knip can rip from three, that's for sure. It's raining threes in Charlotte. A minute left in the second quarter. Knipple to Brandon Miller getting in on the party.
Another good decision.
Usually we see him hammering on the inside. Under 7 minutes left in the third here. Miles Bridges, swing. Another three.
This is what they do. They kill you from distance.
And they buzz. All right, early in the fourth quarter here. Ball. How?
The Moose.
The Moose was loose.
He is loose. Grant Williams with the no-look dime. And then take a look at this play here, Jeremy. Kobe White misses the layup, but Diabate is there to grab the rebound. Look at all 5 Knicks defenders there.
Doing a whole lot of nothing. Didn't grab too many rebounds yesterday.
Well,
it's something they'll need to address.
The Hornets dominating on the glass. Yes, Mike Brown agreed with you there. And then Diabate steals the ball here from Karl Anthony
What was Karl doing there? I don't know.
Going the other way. That's the hammer we've come to expect here. Miller slams it down, and the Hornets put on a show early, get the 114-103 victory. It was rocking in Charlotte last night. Turning on the game, it felt a little bit like a playoff-like atmosphere, something that Charlotte has not really experienced in a while. Do you think, Brian, though, this was more about the New York Knicks or more about Charlotte?
Well, the Knicks had a 7-game win streak here, but it was really built on the back of tankers. And they had to play a team that was completely moving at a different pace, and they weren't ready for it. And I think this game highlighted what Knipple has meant to the Hornets this year. Now, he hit 6 threes.
Yeah.
I am going to tell you that has become somewhat the norm. I'm not even going to talk about that. He had 11 rebounds in this game. He had 8 assists in this game. When you talk to people in Charlotte, what they say is, we knew that Con could shoot, okay? We didn't understand how well he could rebound, how well he could distribute. Frankly, he set screens well, ahead of someone who is his age. His impact for the Hornets has been up and down the line. We saw that take place last night.
And look, these Buzz City Killers, this is one of the more remarkable midseason turnarounds that we've seen in recent NBA history. Over a span of more than 2 months, only the San Antonio Spurs have a better record than the Charlotte Hornets. That is stunning, but it is not fake. I mean, they've beaten the Spurs at home. They've beaten the Knicks at home. They've beaten several good teams. They've got stars. They've got a system. They've got a style of play, a gritty, hustling style of play. The Charlotte Hornets are a team that none of these top seeds in the Eastern Conference want to see in the first round.
So the consensus here is this is more about Charlotte. I just very briefly before we dive further into the Hornets, which we absolutely should. I think that they are on a track to be in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The New York Knicks, though, this did expose something. Karl Anthony Towns essentially was benched on the stretch of this game.
Yeah, and they also got destroyed on the boards, and this was a game that Mitchell Robinson plays. Sometimes Mitchell Robinson will sit out, and you see his fall off defensively. Mitchell Robinson got beat up by the Hornets in this game, and that should be a concerning thing for the Knicks because they've been planning all year to go full power in the playoffs with him. They're going to need their whole team to rebound.
Well, let's dive into exactly how the Hornets were able to do this. They have been lethal, right? They've won 5 straight games. Each of those games have been by at least 10 points. That's the second time this season that Charlotte has won 5 straight games by 10 or more points. And before this year, the Hornets hadn't won 5 straight games by that much since the year was 2000. So, Jeremy Lin, what exactly are we seeing from one of your former squads here?
Yeah, I mean, here we see the Hornets leading the league in... The Hornets here, they're leading the league in pick and rolls. And, first things first, Charles Lee, I'm a big fan. You have them playing amazing, fast, and smart basketball. Now, this is the fast side of things. You can see them coming up the floor. Here we have Miles, we have Brandon Miller. They're trying to get the ball swung to the weak side. And, LaMelo decides to keep the ball. They're playing some type of read and react. It's impossible for the Knicks to defend if the Hornets don't even know what they're doing. So here you can see the confusion they're looking for. You can see right here, Mikal Bridges is trying to defend the weak side. You have Cat, 2 arms out, like I have no idea what's happening, what's going on, what are we trying to do here? And they get right into their first action. Now, it does no good to play fast basketball if you're not playing smart basketball. Now, this is everything. Building off your point, Brian. Knipple, this head turn while he's running, is so smart, so underrated. He is simultaneously running and looking at what his guy Jalen Brunson is about to do. Jalen Brunson decides to switch onto LaMelo, which is a clear cue to Knipple. I need to get to space, get my feet set, get to the three-point line. LaMelo makes an extremely great quick read, and this is everything you want on the mismatch. You have Towns on a guard and Knipple, easy three. In my opinion, the rookie of the year. Now we have the second clip. It's the same setup, side pick and roll on the right side of the floor. Now you have Kobe White. Ryan comes up, sets and pops. This is the smart basketball that Charles Lee has them playing. Jalen Brunson decides to try to go for a steal. This all happens instantaneously. Josh Green decides, okay, he's going for the steal. I need to cut for an open layup. And Brandon Miller makes this entire play happen because as he sees Josh Green cut, he instantaneously has to also move up into this space to get the open shot so Kobe White can find him. Now, what that does is that puts Muhammad in an impossible position. Who am I going to guard? Muhammad decides to go with the safer route, takes Josh Green on the cut. This is Kobe White already hands above his head, looking to make this pass. Easy skip pass right to Brandon Miller for an open three. We saw the same exact action, and we got a strong side open three, a weak side open three. This is why they're running the pick and roll nonstop. This read and react, fast, smart basketball is exactly why Charles Lee has them playing the best basketball in years.
Yeah, no team moves more on offense, really, than Charlotte does. Let's get to the defending champs. They take on the Bulls. That's after losing to the Celtics out in Boston on Wednesday night. The Thunder have the second toughest remaining schedule, and they lead the West by only 2 games. But remember, the Spurs, they do have the tiebreaker between those two. Shea, he was asked about the importance of getting the 1 seed in the West on Wednesday night. Here's what he had to say.
It's very important, and not just in the West, in the whole playoffs. We needed Game 7 at home against Denver, which is a top of the West. If you want to come out the West, you're going to have to beat them. And then we needed it against Indiana to win a championship. So it's as important as everything. And every team in the NBA that makes the playoffs knows that.
Okay, what he's saying is very, very important, but all I can hear is dun-dun, 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 in the
like he's sitting in a cotton candy machine.
Right there.
Quite the
he
code.
is right, though, right? The number 1 seed, it allows you to be able to wear that jacket, and it also has serious playoff implications, Brian.
Yeah, they obviously won 2 Game 7s at home last year. Let's not forget about that. But I also want to point something out. They have lost 1 time in a month. Number 1, they may not lose again the rest of the season. Number 2, they have proven that they can win anywhere when they have to win. So, yeah, they want the number 1 seed. They do need to, get some consistency. One of the interesting things about them, their preferred starting lineup, which they've only played 7 times this year, is 2 and 5. And I'm going to ignore that as sort of small sample noise, but I do think it would be a good idea if they had some rhythm with that group going in. I'm focused more on that than I am about where their seed is.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not as concerned about the seed. When I was playing for the Hornets, Coach Clifford, he told us, he said the number 1 indicator for who wins in the playoffs is health. And a big part of that is also, as you play these playoff games, it comes down to those 2 to 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. Who is going to execute better? You're not going into a series planning on getting to Game 7. You're thinking about, how do I play well in the clutch situations? If you win 1 game on the road, it undoes 82 games of jostling for playoff position. So to me, it isn't the end-all be-all.
Didn't you play in a couple of pretty important Game 7s where it mattered that you were at home when certain shots were just bouncing on the edge of the rim?
Small detail, I didn't play in this one, but I did watch it courtside.
There you go. I mean, it was pretty important. Didn't it make a difference to be in front of the Toronto faithful in a game like this with these sorts of stakes?
Absolutely. You can see them the energy it brings for Game 7. So I totally understand what Shea is saying here. Game 7, when you do get to Game 7, you need, you really want that home court energy, and it's a huge boost. But again, it isn't everything. Of course, in that situation, we're on the right side of the rim and the ball, and it worked out.
I have a theory that home court advantage matters in small markets because I think home court, I'm serious about this. I think home court advantage is different in small markets. You know one stat that OKC leads the league in?
Attendance?
Percentage of free T-shirts worn during playoff games. They are in those seats with those free T-shirts, color coordinated and loud.
The fans wearing the T-shirts matters more.
I'm saying it is indicative of the passion in that arena.
Well, I remember being in Oakland for some games that was pretty passionate. Is that a small market or a big market?
Well, I've got a question for you. Have the Thunder proven they can win in San Antonio? Not this season, sir. So, yes,
that's sort of
home court advantage is going to matter.
How many shirts do they wear in San Antonio?
Oh, they've got the Jackals, baby. They'll beat that drum on you.
Twins in the matching mint shirts settled out over here. We got a lot to basketball at the right time. So let's go in the bonus on what we've seen as of late. Because LA's won 13 of their last 15 games. They vaulted up to the 3 seed in the West. And the last time they had a better 15-game span, that was all the way back in early 2019-2020. What happened later that season? Well, they won the NBA title. And now LA, they're up 2 in the loss column for the 3 seed. They have the 9th easiest remaining schedule that is by opponent win percentage. And that easier schedule, it continues their next 2 games. They're at home against the Nets, and they're at home against the Washington Wizards. And Luka, I mean, he's on a tear right now. He's averaging just under 40 points a game over his last 11 games. That's his most in an 11-game stretch in his career, the most by a Laker since Kobe in 2007. And yes, he is listed as questionable tonight, but what he is doing, it deserves a closer examination, particularly, Jeremy, in isolation. What are you saying?
Thanks, Malika. For me as a player, whenever I'm guarding somebody, I watch film because every player has a tendency. They have patterns. There's a story. What is Luka's story? What is his tendency? He loves the ball in isolation in his left hand, and his favorite move is a left to right through the legs. Now from here, we get to his first read. So as we can see, this tendency as he goes left to right through the legs gives him 2 options. Either he can step back to his left, or he can continue driving to his right. Here's 2 great examples. So here he comes off, ball on his left, through the legs, too much space, patented, step back. Bam cannot give him that much space, and that's an easy 3-pointer. Now, as we go to the next clip, here he has the same thing, left to right through the legs, but this time the defender is jammed up. So he drives and gets right to his spot, easy floater. Luka has the softest touch of any player in the NBA, and that's just way too easy for him. So every good offensive player is looking at their defensive player's feet. That's the most important thing. So you have 3 options. If I have the ball in my left hand, you could have your right foot high. Now, what's the worst thing you want to do as a defender?
I don't want to flip my hips. I don't want to drop step.
It's the hardest to recover from a drop step. So if the ball is in Luka's left hand, the easiest move for him to make is to drive left and force this drop step. So you will never see a defender have his right foot up when the ball is in Luka's left hand. The second option is not really an option. Feet square. This is an absolute no-no in basketball because you're dead both ways and you have to drop step both ways, so you won't ever see this. When the ball is in Luka's left hand, the defender will have his left foot high. And that's exactly why Luka goes to a left to right through the legs. The goal is to be able to force you to drop step. Now, as he makes his first move, if he sees this amount of space, that's the Luka Magic patented step back 3. But if you're pressed up, he goes through the legs. He's going to drive, force the drop step, get right to where he wants to get to. He can get it to his floater or his pull-up jumper, and that is absolutely what he wants to do, but it's not always that easy. Sometimes he gets cut off. So this goes into his second read. As we can see here, if he gets cut off immediately, he will spin into a step-back 3-pointer. He loves that. But if he gets cut off later, he will get into a floater or a mid-range. Here's 2 great examples. So this first one, Kevin Huerter cuts him off early. He's going to go into a step-back 3-pointer. Too much space, and this is just everything that he wants, and he will shoot 10 of these in a game if he can. Now the second one, he drives, he gets cut off later, and he can get right into an easy spin move because he's in the middle of the paint. And that goes right into his floater and 1. And so this is the same thing. He starts, ball on his left to right through the legs. You cut me off early, I'm spin, step back, trying to go for 3 points. If I go, same thing, and I'm able to get some space, now you cut me off later, he can get right into this, and at this point, he doesn't need too much. He's already in his position. He's tall, he's strong, and he can shoot every type of shot. There is, however, one way to stop Luka.
Help!
That's to send the double team. And so here we can see, this is a great example with the Houston Rockets. Jabari Smith on him. He goes left to right through. He gets cut off, so he's going to step back and try to go for a three-pointer. But as he does that, Jabari Smith is right there. He realizes he doesn't have the space. He continues to drive, gets into another step back, and now comes the double team. He passes it. They're in a blender. We get a Marcus Smart wide open three-pointer. This is exactly why the Lakers are doing so well. This is exactly why Luka is tearing up the league.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a deep bag, he has the deepest bag. He is a generational scorer. We talked about the ball in his left hand. We haven't even talked about the ball in his right. We haven't talked about triple threat. We haven't talked about back to the basket isolation.
Yeah.
He can score and do everything, and that's exactly why he's averaging 40 over 11 games.
And this is also why, I mean, there's no player that you send more double teams against. There's really no player that's better at getting out of them than Luka Doncic. Jeremy, thank you. That was really, really insightful. Tim, you can go ice your knee.
I didn't get scored on one.
Let's get to some news this morning. We can change that. Don't test me. All right, it's our top story because tanking has been an issue under renewed scrutiny this week. Adam Silver, he spoke at the NBA Board of Governors meeting about the league's need to address it. Here is what Adam Silver said.
There is an aspect of team building that is called a genuine rebuild, rebuild with integrity. The problem we're having these days is it's become almost impossible to distinguish between a tank and a rebuild. We're now into it with coaches' decisions on lineups and when players come in and out of the game, injuries, pain levels of players. Yes, we need to do something more extreme than we did with those incremental changes the last 4 times along.
So today, our Shams Charania, he reported on 3 different proposals that the league is going to review to try to address tanking, all right? So stay with me here. Here's the first proposal, and it's that 18 teams, the bottom 10, and then the 8 play-in teams, they would be a part of the lottery. Right now, remember, it's the bottom 5 teams in each conference, plus only the 4 play-in teams that lost, that didn't make it out of the play-in. So in this new plan, it is the bottom 10 teams each having an 8% shot at moving up, while the remaining 20%, they would be split amongst the next 8 teams. All 18 spots are drawn as a part of the lottery. All right, that's proposal 1. In the second proposal, 22 teams, they would take part in the lottery, ranked by records across 2 seasons. And each team, they would need to reach a minimum win total each season, or else their record for the lottery purposes, it would be lifted to that minimum threshold. So if you're saying, what the heck, what does this mean? You're not alone. I think an example is the best way to try to explain this, so stay with me here. Let's say the Wizards, they're to go 20-62 this year. And then to keep the math easy, let's say they go 30-52 the next year. The NBA is saying their 2-win total is 55. Let me try to explain why. They're taking their 30 wins in year 2, and then in year 1, they're saying it's 25 wins because they don't want teams to be bad for years and years in a row. That's what they're trying to stop. To be honest, that's my least favorite proposal. That brings us to the third. That's where 18 teams would take part in the lottery. It's increased from 14. That's where we're at right now. And the teams with the 5 worst records, they would have the same odds in descending order from there. And there would be a lottery drawing for each of the first 5 picks, and then there would be a second drawing for the remaining 13 teams with protections in place to prevent the worst teams from falling too far. Right now, you're drawing for the top 4, all right? So with that as the proposals, we welcome in the man who reported on this. And Shams, I'm hoping you can help me explain this a little bit better than I just did. What more can you tell us about these proposals and the tanking that the league is trying to fix here?
Luka, in talking to stakeholders over the last 24 hours, one thing that's been made very clear to me is there are no perfect solutions to tanking and the problem that the league has identified. All 3 of these radical new changes, these concepts that were given to the league's board of governors, they're put in place potentially to prevent teams and de-incentivize teams from jockeying for the bottom of the NBA, to manipulate the rosters, manipulate the lineups. So let's take a look at all 3 of these different formats, these different concepts. I'll start with the 2 18-team formats. This variation we're looking at here now has flattened odds. So the top 10 teams all have the same chance for the number 1 pick. It really mitigates teams from trying to lose or try to protect, get to their pick protection potentially, because it goes back to what the NBA used to have, which is flattened odds. The second variation of the 18 teams format has been dubbed in internally around the league as the 5-by-5. That means that the bottom 5 teams in the NBA will then have equal odds for the top NBA draft pick. And then the 22-team format is the same 18 teams we've been talking about, plus the 4 first-round exits. So that does make it a little interesting, a little exciting. That has the 2-year records, though, as the weighted pool. And that's similar to the WNBA. And this will also have the win total floor accounted for. So let's say if you win 14 games and the floor is 25 games, well, you get bumped up to 25 games as far as how the NBA is going to handle the draft lottery. And so that mitigates teams trying to lose. Let's say you need to get to 16 wins to get your protected pick. So all of these concepts will continue to be modified. All the owners are going back to their general managers, their president, talking through these concepts, digesting them, seeing the ramifications at play here, the unintended consequences as well. And around all of this, Malika, I'm told Adam Silver will also expect to have wide-ranging disciplinary powers that if there are offenders to these rules after the tanking concept is put into place, that he's going to have even wider powers to potentially have an impact around the league.
Interesting. Okay, so in that last proposal that you were saying, if the number 1 seed is bounced in the first round, then they could have still a chance at getting that top pick, which does make things maybe a little bit more interesting. Shams, thank you for taking the time to explain that to us here on NBA Today. As we bring it back inside our Los Angeles studio, Brian, I was taking notes as Shams was talking because this is complex. What do you think of this?
The idea that this is all going to be figured out by mid-May, which is what Adam Silver said, I think that's a pipe dream. I'm sorry. There's going to be way too much jockeying for position and trying to break. And I want to acknowledge it's hard. I don't want to say like I have a better idea. I want to acknowledge that fixing something that they've been trying to fix for 40 years is hard. The idea that this is going to be fixed full stop by May, when they have to put these new rules in, so the teams know how to go about this next season, I just think that is unrealistic. And the other thing is, the concept that the NBA will be able to use discipline, their enforcement has been absolutely all over the place. And, frankly, I would be like, well, what's your discipline? Tell me what your discipline is, because I want to know what the penalties are, because a lot of these teams will instantaneously be wanting to break these new rules. So I will say from 10,000 feet, it looks like they want to have teams that make the playoffs or the postseason involved in the lottery. That is in all these proposals. That I can say for sure. After that, I can't say anything for sure. It doesn't look to me like there's enough incentivizing winning in there. It's hard for me to peel it back. Right. There's a little bit, but it doesn't. There still looks like there's a lot of incentivizing losing in there.
Well, that seems to be a little bit of the problem here, Tim, is that on the one hand, the NBA is saying, well, we don't want you to lose too much, but on the other hand, we still have to reward. We can't take bad teams out of this completely, and that inherently creates this tension.
And listen, Adam Silver has had disciplinary power. What is the biggest fine that he's given out for tanking? It was to the Dallas Mavericks a few seasons ago. They weren't tanking to bottom out. They were tanking to avoid the play-in because they had a top 10 protected pick that they needed to keep, okay? That's the kind of tanking that I'm concerned about, especially with these 18-team policies. If it's 8% odds if you don't make the play-in, but 2% odds if you do, who the hell is going to want to be a 10 seed?
They're going to tank out of that.
Are you kidding me?
It's not enough incentive to win.
Well, and if you were to ask Dallas whether or not they would tank again for that fine and get Derek Lively and then go back to the NBA Finals again like they did the following year, they probably would take it.
And that's what the NBA is really struggling with. How do they make tanking not smart strategy? And tanking is not just bottoming out, but intentionally losing games to manipulate where you land.
Yeah, so these are the 3 proposals that the NBA is chewing on right now. They are complicated. It's taking us a little bit of time to process them, but Adam Silver says by May, we are going to have this thing, at least a new solution that we haven't had in the past. We shall see. All right, coming up here on our day. We got some exciting Sweet 16 matchups in the West bracket last night. Texas has been busting brackets. They were looking for another big upset against the 23 points. And look who's loving it. It's Steve Kerr and somewhere Richard Jefferson loving it as well. So with their decisive win last night, Arizona now the favorite to win the tournament here. The Wildcats, they're followed by the other 2 remaining 1 seeds. You got Michigan and Duke, and they are both in action tonight. And Seth Greenberg is in action right now. He joins us here on NBA Today. Seth, we've been talking a lot on this show about Darius Acuff Jr. out of the tournament now, but one of the hottest names in college hoops. We're going to hear a lot from him in June. What did he show you last night?
He was competitive. They threw bodies at him all game long. Every time he came up with dribble handoff, every time he came up with ball screen, there was a second defender trying to get the ball out of his hands. His ability to get downhill, finish. He's the best layup shooter in college basketball. He's also a terrific lob passer when the defense helps. Now, people are going to take shots at his defense. The guy plays 40 minutes a game. They only have 7 guys that are eligible to play on their roster that can help and impact winning. So, like, he can't do everything, but he's got a middle game. He shoots the 3, a terrific passer, high basketball IQ, feel, and he's a relentless competitor. This guy's game translates seamlessly to the NBA. You can hand him the ball. He reminds me of Damian Lillard. You can handle the ball. You can run your team and score it. His layup shooting is absolutely ridiculous.
We've talked about him maybe as the biggest riser so far in this tournament. He has done a whole lot for his draft stock. All right, let's talk about the #1 overall seed Duke facing St. John's tonight. Cam Boozer, what has he shown you in the tournament, and what does he need to do to get his team to the next round here?
Got to be Cam Boozer. He impacts the game every single time down the court. Everyone talks about his athleticism. He's not a running and jumping. All he does is make winning plays. He gets a 50-50 ball. He rebounds the ball in traffic. If the ball hits his hands, it's his. You can put him on the block. You double, he's going to play out of the double team. If you put him in isolation, he can back you down and score. He's not a high jumper, but he gets angles. He knows how to use that big body of his. He catches everything around the basket. He's patient around the basket. He can step out and pick and pop and shoot a 3. He's got great feet defensively, much better defensively than people give him credit for. Like this guy, I've said it a bunch of times. He was raised to play in the NBA. His maturity, his toughness, his IQ, his feel, his understanding of, you know what? This is not a foot race, and this is not a high jump contest. This is a game of basketball, and his skill level is next level. Now, does he have to create a go-to move? I don't know about that. I just know that if you put him on the court, good things happen. All the guy's ever done is win. That's a pretty good trait to have.
Yeah, that's a pretty high compliments coming from you. And certainly he looks like an NBA player that he's NBA ready right now. And his maturity has been something that certainly stood out to me. Seth Greenberg, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much for stopping by NBA Today. Seth.